You know, our skin is our barrier, it's our shield, but when it fails, it tells an absolutely fascinating story. So today, we're going to be medical detectives. We're going to uncover two really different stories of skin failure to figure out what's really going on just beneath the surface.
So here's how we're going to crack these cases. First, we'll set the scene. Then, we'll dive right into case 1, which is all about a mysterious energy crisis happening inside our cells. After that, we'll pivot to case 2, which is this anatomical puzzle that seems to completely defy logic. And then, we'll put all the clues together for the big takeaway.
You know, every medical condition is pretty much a mystery just waiting to be solved. And the skin, our body's largest organ, it holds some of the most compelling stories out there. To solve them, we just have to learn how to read the clues it gives us when things start to go wrong.
So to really understand what's happening, we have to ask the right questions. We can't just look at the surface. We have to investigate the microscopic battles and the large-scale design flaws that are actually leading to the breakdown.
And that is exactly our plan. We're going to use two completely different lenses for this investigation. First, we're going to zoom way into the cellular level. Then, we're going to zoom way out and look at the blueprint of an entire region. Our first case, it begins right at the scene of the problem.
All right, so our first mystery takes us inside a hospital room, where the problem starts with something that sounds so simple, just constant pressure.
Okay, so here's the situation. We've got a 70-year-old patient who can't move around very much, and they've developed something called a pressure ulcer. This is a really serious breakdown of the skin, and it all starts with a lack of blood flow.
Now, the medical term for this is ischemia. All it means is that when you have all this pressure on one spot for a long time, it literally squeezes the blood vessels shut. And no blood means no oxygen, no fuel for the cells. This right here is the trigger for our entire mystery.
So here's our central question. As these skin cells are just being starved of blood, what part of their internal machinery is the first to break down? What's the thing that cripples any chance of repair? What is that critical first domino to fall?
The answer? Well, it's not about the cell's structure or its outer wall. It's about its power supply. The problem begins when the lights, and I mean this quite literally, go out inside the cell.
Okay, so this lays out the entire chain reaction. It all starts with the pressure. That causes the ischemia, which cuts off the fuel line to the cells. This, in turn, starves their internal power plants, which then completely stop producing energy. And without that energy, all repair work just grinds to a halt.
And those power plants? Well, those are the mitochondria. Their entire job is to create a molecule called ATP. And you can think of ATP as the dollar bill of cellular energy. Every single job a cell has to do, dividing, building things, repairing damage, it costs ATP.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. Without enough ATP coming from those mitochondria, the cells that are supposed to be rebuilding the skin, they just can't. They don't have the basic energy to divide and heal. That is the first domino to fall. The power failure is the root cause.
All right, let's zoom out. We're going to shift gears from a microscopic energy crisis to a big picture, large-scale design puzzle. Our second case is a completely different kind of failure.
So our second patient is a young, healthy construction worker, but the skin on his hands, the toughest skin on his whole body, it's constantly dry, thick, and cracking. So how can skin that's literally built for toughness be so fragile?
This condition actually has a name, palmoplantar hyperkeratosis. And that's just a fancy way of saying the skin on the palms of the hands and soles of the feet has gone into overdrive, becoming way too thick and losing all its flexibility.
And this brings us to our second big question. What is it about the specific anatomy of our palms and soles that makes them so susceptible to this exact problem? The answer isn't in the cell's power plants this time. It's in the region's overall design.
You know, the secret to this mystery is that the very features that make the skin on our hands and feet so incredibly tough also create a critical vulnerability. It's almost like a flaw in the original blueprint.
This comparison right here shows us the critical difference. Skin on your palms and soles has this extra thick top layer for protection and a ton of sweat glands. But here's the kicker. Unlike almost all of your other skin, it has absolutely zero oil glands. None. So you see the problem, right? The skin here is built like armor plating, but it has no built-in lubrication system. Most of our skin uses oil to stay moisturized and flexible. Our hands and feet, they can't do that. They have to rely completely on sweat and any moisture they can get from the outside. And when that's not enough,
The thick, tough armor just cracks.
Okay, so we've just seen two totally different failures. One was a power outage inside a single cell, and the other was a design flaw in an entire region of the body. So, what's the big lesson here? Let's just break it down side by side. Case 1 was all about a lack of cellular energy, that ATP molecule, caused by failing mitochondria. Case 2 was a lack of regional moisture, oil, caused by the simple fact that there were no oil glands. Two different scales leading to two completely different failures.
And this is the core idea. You really can't fully understand why things go wrong if you only look at one level. You need both. You need the microscopic cellular view and the macroscopic regional view. They're two sides of the exact same coin.
Just remember that. It takes two perspectives, zooming in and zooming out, to get the complete picture of health and disease. It's true for the skin, and honestly, it's true for so much else in biology.
And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. The very design of our hands is both their greatest strength and their biggest weakness. So where else in the human body does that same trade-off exist? What other specialized parts of us live on that same knife's edge between brilliant function and built-in vulnerability? Something to think about.